Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD, BlenderHD. You're going to follow me on Twitter. And it's Tuesday, December 5th. We'll be talking about the 8-game NHL slate. Right, we got a 2-game NBA slate that the Grinders Live will be on later today. Crunch time to talk about that. So hit the like button. First thing in the door. Give me those thumbs. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Participate in the chat. We always see the YouTube chat over here. Joining with me, NHL extraordinaire Tim BUELL, right? Always active in the NHL Discord. So Tim, we got an 8-game slate. From the looks of it, all I know is that when the Sharks are on the slate, you just play the team against them. But that team is the Islanders. And I'm never all that excited about playing the Islanders. And then we also have the Avalanche are a big favorite against the Ducks. Seems like, I'm looking at the initial projections and basically, like, if you were to play cash games, seems like the cash lineup is like Colorado 1 plus Islanders 2 and figure out what the hell you're doing at a second defender spot and you're done. Is that kind of like the overall, like, I know that, Taylor will come out with the slate summary. And you'll have the expert survey out for premium members. Click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month of a RotoGrinders premium subscription. Is that kind of like the lay of the land on the slate that, like, if you're not playing the Avalanche or the Islanders, like, play whoever you want? Because, the ownership is probably going to be condensed on those two teams.
Yeah, and there's some pretty big news that that's really going to make a difference for the slate. And I'm trying to find info on it. I haven't found anything yet, but Cale Makar missed the last game for Colorado. So Devin Toews is Devin Tays is 4,400 on DraftKings, and he would be super chalk. Because he'd be quarterbacking this Colorado power play, and he would be mega popular and a must play for cash games. So if Makar misses again, that is some amazing value. And I would dare to say that I think he is a really strong GPP play, even in large field to get overweight him. He's a very talented skater. Pretty much any power play in the league. So that's a very important piece of news.
Just to put things into context, like Cale Makar is typically close to like 8K, and it's primarily because the Colorado power play 1 unit is just so strong. And Toews, or however you pronounce his last name, typically he's quarterbacking the power play 2 unit, which doesn't see nearly as much ice time. Like he's good at even strength, but at even strength, he's typically like the second defender. So you're essentially saying that if Makar misses out again, like he really should be like a 7K defender. It's like very similar to in football, where it's like you're getting like the $4,500 running back that like the guy that he shares time with is just gone, and he's gonna get like 90% of the work.
He is Zach Moss. Okay. All right. That's who he is. This guy is Zach
Moss. Is he actually
going
to get a touchdown when he touches the ball 12 times inside the 10-yard line?
I can't guarantee. There's no such thing as a lock, Blender, but this is the Zach Moss spot if Makar misses. Definitely.
I also saw in the Discord, because you guys are always talking about you guys. I don't want to stress this enough. I have a Twitter list for every sport, because I have TweetDeck open all the time on my second screen over here, and I have NBA, even though I'm not playing really much NBA DFS, but I do bet props. I got an NFL one, I got an MMA one, I got a soccer one. Obviously, during baseball, I got a baseball one. Normally, I would put together, now that I'm playing NHL DFS, an NHL list with all the beat writers and media outlets and everything. I don't do that, because my NHL TweetDeck is essentially the RotoGrinders NHL Discord, because literally anything of note that would be worthwhile to look at is going to be posted there. It's like it's inevitable. And especially when I'm new to NHL DFS this season, sometimes you see news that it's like, oh, does this matter? And a lot of times it doesn't matter, right? So,
Right.
like, I like the way you guys filter out, like, what really here are the new lines. This guy moved to this and this guy moved to that. And I'm like, okay, it's a third and fourth line change. No big deal, right?
Right.
They moved this guy to the first line, but I mean, he's still only on the power play 2 unit. So, like, his projection's not going to change that much. Like, stuff like that. And in the chat, you were talking about is there something going on with uh Buffalo?
Yeah, so Tage Thompson might be back. I mean, he skated at morning skate and took power play rushes. That's usually a very good sign that somebody is returning. He is a high volume shooter, playing at home against Detroit. It's not exactly the best matchup. It's not as big a news as the Makar news. That's huge news. But this Tage Thompson situation, it's not the biggest news, but he is definitely a first line center, first unit power play guy. I mean, he is a very big deal. I don't know if we necessarily have to get to him a ton in GPPs, but he's a very strong, talented player.
And he's 7,200, so it's not like he's cheap. I mean, like he's
Exactly.
one of the Sabres' better players, but wouldn't
Yes.
I think that would be more affect the other like everyone else. Like if Thompson's
Yes.
back on that first line, I mean now Middlestat. Like I mean, what's going to happen with Middlestat? He's going to move to the second line. Cousins moves down. Then obviously if he's taking power play rushes, I'm just kind of guessing like Olafson or Okposo, like all these guys are kind of like moved down on the list. I know they're not
Right.
centers, but like it's quite possible that like even Skinner and Tooch and Dahlin maybe slightly overpriced because obviously he's going to take some shots away from them. So
Yeah.
I know that maybe the Sabres aren't going to be all that popular today. What would be the assessment as far as like how, because currently we don't have Tage Thompson in the projections, so I'm looking at the current projections. Let's say we don't get
Right.
that news until late and I'm already building
Mhm.
lineups. Like, how would I prepare? Like, who really gets a
So
downgrade or upgrade?
if they skate the way that they're skating this morning, they have Skinner, Middlestat, and Thompson at the wing. So that actually would probably help Middlestat because he'd be centering two very, very, very talented players. I don't know if this is how they're going to skate, though. I mean, I don't know. We might not get the official word until pregame. But right now, we have Middlestat centering Jeff Skinner and Tage Thompson. So that might be a really good spot. That might be a pretty affordable line. And Alex Tuck wasn't at morning skate. So there's something going on in Buffalo. But this is the weird thing about hockey. We might not know until say 5:30, 6 o'clock, if not later. So
Okay, so if Tuck is out, and like if
yeah.
he's not going to play, then I mean, to me, it's like it's almost like all these rejections are kind of neutral because basically Thompson just slides right into like Touch's projection essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, but he'd be projected even better.
Right. But I'm just saying in
Yeah.
general, like as far as time on ice is concerned and
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
set up
Yeah.
their
Yes.
lines, like
Yes.
it's not gonna none of these numbers are gonna change all that much.
Right. Right. See,
Are there any other
they're having morning skate as we speak. So I'm getting news on the fly.
okay, are there any other things that we should be looking at morning states, back to backs, anything that that may not be currently reflected in projections that maybe we're looking at today?
Darlene, again for Buffalo, left during morning skate and appeared to be injured. So that would be
That's
another
big.
really big. That would be really huge. Yoki Haru, I think, would take over. Oh no, first power. Yeah, it would be Power would take over as the quarterback for PP1. So there's actually quite a bit of news happening, and we might not have the final answers until right before the games.
Now, how much of an upgrade would Power get? Like, it's not going to be as dramatic, probably as Devin Toes, because I mean, Colorado's just a much better team than Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo is kind of a mess now.
Yeah.
But still, from a value standpoint, I mean, I'm making 7 GPP lineups today.
Mm-hmm.
If that ends up, I mean, if Makar is out, it's quite possible I play Toes in every single lineup, even as a one-off.
I mean, that's what I would do, to be honest with you. If I'm making 7 teams, I'd have Tays in every single one of them. But Owen
that wouldn't be
Power
the
is
same. But that wouldn't be the same for Power. Like I'd
Right.
be much more interested in Power, but I think what I would do is I'd be like if Dahlin and Tooch were both out, I'd be much more inclined to just play Buffalo Power Play 1 as a full
Right.
line with Toes as a one-off, only because Colorado Power Play 1 is like, I mean, McKinnon and Nishushkin and Ranton. I mean, that's expensive as hell. So,
Yeah.
like, to me, I would view Buffalo as like a mid-priced way to get kind of off Islanders chalk and then use just Toes as a one-off. Like, I think, like, if you're going to use Colorado 1, you're going to end up, you're not going to end up with Islanders 1. You're going to end up with like Islanders 2 and 3. But if you wanted to play Islanders 1, like if you wanted to play their top line, like it's going to be very hard to fit in any Colorado pieces. Like it's that McKinnon and Rantanen are almost at a reach. I wouldn't be opposed to just playing the, you know, I could easily play Thompson, Skinner, Middlestat, and Power as a 4-man, then put Toes in that lineup, and then I could play 3 good Islanders in that line. I mean, it's still going to be somewhat chalky, but how much ownership do you think? How do you think the field will react if Sandin and Tooch are both out?
I don't know if they're going to react too heavily to that news because Power isn't exactly free. Like if Power was like 3,100 and not 4K, that might be a way bigger deal. But with Tays at 44, Tays is going to get so much ownership. But the thing that's interesting is that you're going to know the Buffalo situation before you know the Colorado situation, possibly. Like if they don't,
Hold on. It's possible we don't know if Makar is out, and because their game is at 9. So we may not even. So you're telling me we may not get that news at lock at 7? Like,
there's if the coach doesn't announce something during their presser, which is like between like let's say 3 to 5 Eastern time, you're not going to know until pregame warmups.
Well, that's going to be a problem. I mean, I don't think it's see the thing is here for the Tays situation. I'm going to pronounce his name correctly. Is that I think if Makar was in, Tays is not like a bad, like he's fine as it is. Colorado are like the biggest favorite on the slate. So like I played Tays even when Makar is in my Colorado stacks as it is. So to me, I almost view it as a win-win of what's the worst case scenario? Makar plays and you have a pretty decently priced Tays on even strength and power play 2 for the Colorado. Like I don't mind that. And then if Makar is out, it's just you get the upgrade of like the guys like 2,500 underpriced. Like I don't mind playing them. Here's another question, ownership wise. I'm a big fan of setting groups in lineup HQ. I don't like to play chalky, expensive players as one-offs. Right?
Yeah, I don't either.
The keyword there is expensive. Like I'm not a big fan of playing McKinnon as a one-off because if McKinnon has 30 plus points, it's most likely his entire line has probably gotten there also because he has a goal and 3 assists or something. Like but the cheap guys like Tays at 4,400 could put up 18, 20 points, and McKinnon sitting there with 18, and Rantanen has 15. And Nishushkin has a goal and 3 shots. Like they're all fine, but it's not like they're not. It's an 8-game slate. I could find 15-ish points from a lot of people on the slate. That I don't mind, because Tays is 4,400. That even if Tays has 3 assists, it's still possible that Rantanen and McKinnon are expensive enough that it gets spread out, and who cares? It doesn't matter. But like with guys like McKinnon, it's like if he has 5 points, like you basically needed the Avalanche in this game. So
right.
So would that be logical that Tays, like if we knew right now that Tays is out, and we had projected ownership at 40+%, that even though he may be one of the highest or the highest owned player, like I don't mind playing him as a one-off at that price.
I don't mind it. I don't hate it at all, to be honest with you. But I agree that I don't like to play expensive one-offs either. But the cheap guys, I don't mind so much.
I almost don't mind. The thing is that I almost don't mind. Maybe this is faulty logic. I almost don't mind if the expensive one-offs are wingers. Like someone that primarily is a shooter. That like when they get there, it's because they've scored 3 goals, but they don't get many assists. Like they're like it's quite possible that they score 3 goals and no one else on their line. Like the assists are spread out, or it's a single assist and stuff like that, where like, oh, okay. Like their line mates, everyone has an assist, and they all are like at like 5 to 10 points, but they have 35 themselves.
Right.
Because they're the one
that sounds very kind of player dependent. I don't think it's faulty logic necessarily, but I think that fits a mold of certain players more than others. Would
Philip Forsberg be like an example? Like to me, I view like Philip Forsberg as like I could play him as a one-off. I could play like O'Connor, Kevin Connor as a one-off, or even like Stamkos as a one-off, like kind of those like Nylander, like those types of players, kind of a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess you could play Nylander as a one-off. I feel like he plays on such a strong line, though, that probably others would come with him. But I get what you're saying for sure, because his shot volume is so high. Tage Thompson is officially in tonight. So
okay.
We
do Dane in the chat, Dane, Moneyball, our projection specialist, says that Tooch is already named out, he thinks.
Okay. Yeah.
So outside of Colorado, let's take a look at the Islanders. If you go by our value, I mean, we're looking at like, I'm never a big fan of I mean, you get it as value a lot of times this season. Islanders too, right? You get like the Anders Lee, Pierre Engvall, Kyle Palmieri, Bo Horvat, but like, aren't the real people that I want to play guys like Barzal. I want to play Noah Dobson. I want to play those types of players. And maybe like a Pulak. I don't know about Roman. Like, I don't know. It always feels like Romanov gets there on blocks more than.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I'm not like a block expert, but I don't think this is going to be a good matchup for blocks, because the Sharps, A, don't possess the puck enough, and B, they don't shoot enough. So I can't imagine this is a good spot for blocks. But yeah, like the Brock Nelsons.
We don't. I was going to ask you that because I was trying to find him. Currently, we don't have Brock Nelson in the projections. Is he out?
I believe he will be in. He skated this morning. I put him in the projections. You might have to refresh.
Okay.
Yeah, because I put him in because he skated this morning. So it looks like it's going to be Palmieri, Nelson, and Engvall on line 2, Horvat, Barzal, and Lee on line 1. On that line 2, you get 2 players projected to be on PP1, and that's Palmieri and Nelson. Palmieri is quite cheap. I think he's only like 4,100, so he'd be a fine play. I love Noah Dobson. He's getting expensive. but this is just such a good spot. So, they're going to be popular, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, also you have Engvall there at 2,600, but I mean,
Right.
I've played Islanders too before. Let me tell you that it doesn't matter how cheap they are. Sometimes you look and go, do they do anything?
Right. No, I know. They're not exactly offensive juggernauts. So,
So with Anders Lee playing
yeah.
on the top line, I mean, but he's not playing on power play 1 though.
Yeah, that's what we have projected. We have him on PP2. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the Islanders, but I mean, these guys are cheap and they have, they're over minus 100 minus 200 favorites on the road, right? So you got what? So okay. Now I see how they moved since the last time I played the Islanders, they kind of moved their lines, right? I probably have to refresh this to get Nelson in, because like guys like it always seems like I'll play Islanders too, and then it's like a Holmstrom goal from Pajot on the third line, and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
The Islanders are at home.
Oh, the Islanders are at home. Okay.
Yeah.
So we list the home team first on this page. I guess we do. You're right. Yeah. Okay. Because they list second over here. We gotta make that consistent, right? I'm used to see the thing.
Don't talk to me about that, Blender. That's not my department. Okay.
Right. But I mean, see, the thing is that when you play soccer, in soccer, most of the world, the home team is listed first. So like but in lineup HQ, we list the home team second because most American sports, that's what you do. So I never know what I'm looking at. So I'm like, okay, I know on lineup HQ, the home team is on the bottom. And then I'm expecting on the lineup page that the home team be the second team being listed, and it's not. So I'm like, oh, the Islanders are on the road to San Jose, but they're not. Okay, so they're home. So that's even better. That's probably why they're favored by so much, right? They probably wouldn't be as heavy of a favorite on the road to San Jose.
Right.
But I mean,
well, they'd still be huge favorites.
What? See, the thing that's gonna. So this is all cheap. Like the thing is that do you want, if given a choice, Tim, would you rather play? Because the thing is that there's 2 members of line 1 and 2 members of line 2 that play on the first power play. Would you rather? I mean, I know the answer to this, but I mean, comparing what you consider ownership wise, do you think guys like Lee and Engvall are going to be as owned? Are people going to be more likely to just play the power play 1 unit, meaning that they're much more likely to play a combination of 3 or 4 of Horvat, Barzal, Palmieri, Nelson, Dobson, and you think Engvall and Lee, who are both very cheap, go less owned? Or do you think people will be more likely to play the even strength lines of 1 or even strength line 2? And it's quite possible that Dobson is the one at defender that gets a little bit less owned because he doesn't like match up to, like, if you're going to go in lineup HQ and play 3 players, it's going to probably not include Dobson because value wise at 6,500, he's like the least like point per dollar level. He's there. Sure. Great. But if you're jamming in like 3 guys, like projection wise, like Dobson is going to be like out of these 7 players, probably 7th on the list from a point per dollar standpoint.
Yes, I would imagine that even strength 1, line 1 will be the most popular, followed by even strength 2, and then probably PP1 will be number 3. That's what I would guess.
So you think even with Barzal being 6K, that people will still still be popular enough?
I think so.
Because I could see people playing Horvat, Palmieri, Nelson type of lineups even. Because if we take a look, I mean, even at our own projections, like Nelson and Barzal are both 6K, and Nelson projects a little bit better than Barzal. So maybe people feel too. No. Okay, I take that back. With how popular Colorado is going to be, probably Horvat and Nelson's ownership are going to be a little bit more split because McKinnon is going to be in a lot of lineups also, and he's center eligible as well.
Right. And like Horvat's only 5.4, and that's super cheap. So that really brings.
That's the reason I think Nelson, like it's much more likely that Nelson and Barzal get squeezed, and people will play Horvat plus one of Lee or Engvall. That or Palmieri, I guess, right? Because you wouldn't play Engvall
But
with Horvat because they're not
Horvat's on line 1 though.
Yeah,
People
but
aren't going to go.
Engvall's on power play 2 and line 2, so like they're not going to be together.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Kind of like moving the deck chairs on the Titanic. I think all these guys will be popular enough. Like we're like kind of splitting hairs here. Like you're not getting if you're playing anyone from line 1 or anyone from line 2, and if you're playing Dobson, like you're not getting different. Like you're not like if you're doing that and then jamming in Colorado, like welcome to no one being single digit owned in your line.
Yes, that's true. And the slate isn't that big. So you're going to be having a ton of aggregate ownership if you do that. If you go Islanders Avs, that's super chalky.
Okay, let's say you don't go Islanders Avs, and we talked about the Buffalo situation. What are the spots that are I don't want to call off the board because it's an 8-game slate and we only talked about 2 or 3 teams. What teams would you be targeting, especially in GPPs?
I love the Kings quite a bit. Guys like Kempe, Fiala, Byfield, like LA1 is fully correlated at even strength and the power play. I really like the Kings today. They have a 3.6 total, which I think is 3rd overall on the slate. Actually, they have the 2nd highest total on the slate. They have a slightly higher total than the Islanders. So guys, the top 6 for the Kings, I absolutely love. I'm really curious to see where they come in ownership with Colorado.
They're going to be lower because from a point per dollar standpoint, they don't rate as very good values.
Right.
Like you're not going to be able to play Kings you're not going to be able to play a McKinnon Kings lineup. Like I could tell you that looking at these prices. Like you're not going to get that.
Yeah. So I really, I love to attack a team with a high total that isn't going to get ownership, just like in any other sport, right? So I really like the Kings. They really stuck out to me. And I think you can play even strength lines, like lines 1 through 3, as like filler stacks, like line 3, even just as filler value pieces. Line 2, other than Fiala, they're pretty cheap. So I think they're in a really, really great spot. So I love the Kings today as a large field GPP play.
Here's a team that I like playing a lot because they tend to be cheap. And I think they may be facing one of the higher owned goalkeepers on the slate. And I don't consider their opponents, they're playing at home, and I don't consider their opponents to be a great defensive team. At least that's not what I at least perceive them to be. You could tell me otherwise, but what are your thoughts on the Calgary Flames? Because, you're able to play like any line you want because they spread it out enough. But like these guys are all, like Lindholm and Kadri are always in the low 5Ks. You got all the wingers that are under 4K. You got Backlund's fine even on the 3rd line, right? And then you could always pair with, like Hannafin or Uyghur or these guys. I don't consider the Flames to be a good hockey team, but value-wise, like if you wanted to fade the Islanders and still play a Colorado 1 lineup, if Gustafsson may be like high on, am I on the right track? Like the Flames are pretty decent.
I think the Flames are, mediocre, but what I would say is that Minnesota has the worst penalty kill in the entire league, and they're playing on the road in Calgary. So, I mean, granted, Calgary doesn't have a great power play, but the Wild at least have the worst kill in the league playing on the road. They take a lot of penalties. So if I was going to go that way, I would try to go their power play one. That's the way I would go about Calgary.
But power play one, I mean, dude, their power play one is cheap as hell. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
you could play Lindholm. Like Lindholm is 5,100. Sharangovich, whatever how you ever pronounce his name, 3,600. And he's a vortex. Like, he is a fantasy vortex, Tim. I've played him on like the past 3 slates. The guy either scores a goal or does nothing. Just
Yeah.
and then you're like, did he even play? And like 22 minutes of nothing? It's like Tony Snell, right? But then you got Kadri. If you don't want to take up 2 center spots, you don't have to play. Well, you can play Lindholm or Kadri. But like Huberdeau, I know, he's not an exciting player, but he's 3,900 and he will score. I mean, it's not like he's just old, right? And then Hannafin coming off the second pairing, 4,500.
Mhm.
I mean, why can't
How much is Hannafin?
Yeah, I know.
How much was
Hannafin's 4,500?
Oh, 40. I thought you said 35. I was like, wow.
Right. No, he
cheap. Yeah,
was. His price has come up. He was in the high 3Ks for most of the past week or two.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say if he's 35, that's like a top value on the slate. 45 is a little bit, a little bit more interesting. But yeah, this is a great power play spot. But like I said, the Flames they don't have a great power play, but this is the best possible matchup you could get on special teams. So I would definitely attack these cheap Calgary PP1 pieces.
And then if you don't play the Flames, just play Gustafsson because he's probably going to face 30 plus shots.
Yes, that's a good call also. Yeah. So the Flames they shoot a lot of low percentage shots, I'd say.
No, I can tell. I play them all the time, and I see how I get 4.5 points from so many players on my team and no goals.
I'm in such a goalie drought right now. Every goalie that I play is just awful, and I'm just dead instantly.
Godlike in chat says, "My God, Blender could break down any sport." Am I doing a good job for someone that only has about 5-6 weeks experience of even knowing what NHL is?
You're doing fantastic. Just like I told you would.
So any other teams like off the board that before we get out of here that you may be eyeing? We have the Kings, who are going to be more of the type of team that you don't play the Avalanche with. The Flames are the type of team you don't play the Islanders with because now you are able to get Colorado. Is there something like that's maybe in the middle where it's like, what if I want to avoid both the Islanders and the Avalanche and build kind of a mid-priced type of lineup? Like,
I was thinking,
Vancouver or the Devils?
How do you spend money on the slate without playing Colorado? And to me, the answer is the Devils. Play Jack Hughes, who is like one of the best offensive players in the whole league. And he's going to be an amazing pivot away from McKinnon. So if you're trailing early on and you're like, oh, I have so much Avalanche, switch to the Devils. That's what I'd say. I think this Vancouver, New Jersey game's got a lot of shootout potential. New Jersey is the worst goaltending team in the NHL, and Vancouver's been on fire. Now Vancouver's obviously due for some regression, but does that come tonight? I'm not sure. So this Vancouver, New Jersey game is a late night hammer. I think it has a lot of viability for tournaments.
So how would you play the Devils? Would you play, because I mean a lot of their pieces are expensive and they've shifted their lines a bit. I mean, like Palat is no longer on the power play one line. I mean, I like Hischier, but like if you play Hischier and Hughes together, you're obviously taking up 2 center spots. So that's obviously you're not playing McKinnon in that time. I mean, obviously not playing McKinnon and Hughes together.
Right.
But I mean, are you to me, I would look at this as I would like to get like Hughes, Toffoli, Hischier, or Hughes, Toffoli. I mean, if you do Hughes, Toffoli, Bratt, I mean, you're you're spending, right, on 2 7K and a 9K player. But it feels like top. Like if you're gonna play Jack Hughes, I'd much rather play Toffoli, who plays on the top line as well as the power play one line, than do a lineup
Yep.
where it's like Hughes. Imagine playing Hughes, Bratt, Hischier. Well, I mean, I guess you could do Hughes, Bratt, Hischier. It's just that with Hughes being 9,500, I'd rather so many more opportunities for Hughes to get points from a Toffoli goal or even a Hall. Like, dude, I think Hall probably is not 4,500 and he doesn't project very well. That when you're playing at 95, it's like very similar to McKinnon. Like I don't like playing McKinnon without playing a top line play. Like I don't want to play other power. I know Colorado doesn't organize their lines that way, but I'm never a big fan of like if a guy is like 8K or more, I want to play guys that are like on his even strength and power play line as much as possible. Yet when the guys are like in the 5K, 6K range, like if you're playing the Flames, it's like if I play Lindholm with Huberdeau, who are on completely different lines other than the power play, it's not that big of a deal to me because Lindholm's only 5,100. Like he does, like if he got 2 points, like he's probably if he gets 22 fantasy points, like that's great for his price. But like 22 fantasy points for Jack Hughes, like you pay 9,500 for it. Like that's not GPP winning at that price.
But I think that they're great pivots away from Colorado. Say you're like trailing, to start the slate, and you want to get off the chalk Colorado, you can go Hughes over McKinnon. You can go Toffoli over Rantanen. You can go Hughes over Taze. So it's they kind of like are very, very parallel to each other. So they're a very, very easy swap to make. So yeah, so that's I think the Devils' most important part is that you can switch from Colorado to New Jersey if you're trailing.
Here's another idea. Do you before we get out of here, obviously, I mean, NHL is kind of a niche sport, so people are paying enough attention that if you see that, like, we don't have Makar in our projections, if it comes out after 7 o'clock that Makar is in, how low owned is he going to be?
He's such a well-known name,
Yeah,
that's
but
the only
I'm talking about
problem.
after lock, like after 7 o'clock. Like, do you have space for like a $7,500 defender in your lineups at that point where like he could show up and score 35 points? I mean, like he's nuts.
Yeah, so like if the Islanders end up being super, super chalk, then he won't be that owned. But if people leave spaces open like they should, I don't know, because
But here's an example, Tim. Like, let's say you're playing a lineup where you're playing McKinnon, but you're playing Rantanen, but Rantanen is in your utility spot, right? Because you have like Islanders wingers, you have you have the Flames wingers or something in there, and Rantanen's like 8,500. Like, if we find out like it's 8 o'clock, it's pregame warmups, right? It's 9:30, and it's like, oh no, Makar is in. Like, why don't you just replace Rantanen with Makar, right? Just 1v1
that's
right
always
there.
a debate. People are talking about that in Discord the other day. Like, is Makar more valuable than Rantanen? It's pretty close. Okay, it's not exactly nobody really knows, but Makar will be lower owned, I think, than Rantanen. So I think it's a good idea to switch to Makar.
If he
especially if you're trailing.
Is that what you're always expecting, Tim? It seems like you're a pessimist today. You're just expecting to be down by that point.
No, but I always think about late swap in every sport that I play. That's what I'm always thinking about that.
So, Tim, what content is coming out today for the hockey folks, which is pretty much all premium? Click on that link in the description, get $10 off your first month. You got the slate summary and expert survey, and then obviously the projections get updated ridiculously quickly.
Yes, he's doing it right now as we're doing the show. I can see him on the sheet doing it.
I like the fact that all the hockey guys in the NHL Discord are that they're big fans of, like, wow, on like one of the regular RotoGrinders show is doing a whole thing about NHL on Tuesday because let's just say it's a niche sport that many people don't cover as regularly.
Right.
I think I got new blood. I think on this show we've gotten since NHL season has started. I think that I've seen the Discord. There are plenty of people similar to me that saw it on RotoGrinders today. I'm gonna try out some of this hockey stuff, and since our projections are so damn good, people are sticking around.
Yeah, I mean, I tell everybody our projections are so much better than everyone else's. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about our content and our Discord.
And you can join the thing is, the Discord is free. It's free. It shouldn't be free. I'm letting everyone know out there.
To join the Discord.
Right.
Yeah, we do all the work for you. I know.
RotoGrinders.com/Discord. So you can join that right now if you want and get all the news about what they're already talking about. Okay, Eric Goodbranson is a game time decision. Okay, Andrew Peak would draw if Goodbranson can't go. I don't think I don't think I'm necessarily playing Blue Jackets today.
Yeah, Thomas Chabot is out for the Senators, and he plays a ton of minutes, and he plays. He's the quarterback of the PP1. That's kind of big news too. So there is some news today.
Yeah, and I don't even need TweetDeck to get the news. It's beautiful.
No, you
just
don't
leave Discord open. It's like, oh, it's all. And even if I don't leave Discord open, I could come back 5 hours from now and just scroll back and see anything that's changed. And of course, all of that stuff is reflected in our projections. But it's like, dude, all the news is posted, and it's not a chaotic Discord. It seems like people actually like each other in there.
Yes, very much so. It's a very good group for sure.
So you can find Tim in there, Tasteful Tides on Twitter. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Play the 8-game NHL slate tonight. I'll have 7 lineups in. We got a 2-game NBA slate. Tim, you're doing double duty today in 2 different sports.
I'll be on crunch time for the 2-game NBA slate.
TJ will be on that show as well. So hit that subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to always know when we go live. And I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be doing an NFL week 14, or we're up to 14, right? Week 14 preview. So tune back in as you always do, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, where I talk about everything you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props and pick 'em on RotoGrinders today.